I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself.
The doctor lived next door to the janitor to the reverend and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it for all the more.
Letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Welcome to the show. Richard Deshay Elliott, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Doni. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to go over this almost concluded Senate primary.
Okay, Rodney Burris, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good, good. So I was down in Howard County yesterday, and it was the last day, no doubt, of early voting. So many thoughts. Where do we start? You want to start it off, Richard?
Okay, so of course we got to start with the big show in town, and that is this heavily contested Democratic Senate primary. Every vote counts. If you are in Maryland and you are not registered, or you are a registered Democrat, you can show up to the polls and vote for one of the two likely next U.S. senators from Maryland. That is either Congressman David Trone or Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. This race has seen the polls tighten. David Trone was leading every single poll up until a poll was conducted a couple of days ago, and David Trone was down by about 2 points in that most recent poll to Angela Alsobrooks. This is the first poll we've seen during the race with Angela Alsobrooks leading David Trone. Another good development is that this poll also showed both.
You said
go ahead.
You said good development. Help me out. Are you a Alsobrooks fan?
I'm going to say another good development is that that both Trone and Alsobrooks are leading Hogan in that poll. That is what I consider the good development. The other one I'm just considering a development.
So you are not a Hogan supporter.
I am not a Hogan supporter, but in the Democratic primary, I'm trying to keep people informed.
Well, damn, seems more than just informed. Seems like you have a bent there.
That was just what I wanted to go on.
You're saying Hogan lost ground, according to this last poll?
I'm not going to even necessarily say that Hogan lost ground, but that as we're getting closer to the general election, as the presidential election is entering people's minds, the possibility of Maryland sending the 51st Republican to Washington is being discussed now. I'm going to say that again. Not just sending a Republican to the Senate, but sending a Republican that would make Larry Hogan the tie-breaking vote rather than Kamala Harris. While I do have some disputes with Kamala Harris's ideology and past history, I would have her 101 days out of 100 over Larry Hogan as the tie-breaking vote, without question. Rodney, I can tell that you're getting in your element, so I want you to chime in.
Absolutely. Richard, before I do, I just have a question. Larry Hogan has seemed to be at points outspoken against Donald Trump. If Donald Trump gets into office again, would Hogan be the voice against him, even from the Republican side of things, or would he side with him along party lines? What do you think on that?
So you're going for what a lot of Marylanders like most about Hogan, like a lot of Georgia Democrats and Republicans like about their Republicans. They criticize some of Trump's worst tendencies.
You know, the thing about Richard, you just sliding stuff in there. We have to check that now. You mentioned Georgia, and you mentioned their Republicans. Are you alluding to Herschel Walker?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm talking about the respectable Georgia Republicans, like the Secretary of State.
We want to add some qualifications in here because Herschel Walker was a huge disappointment to Black people.
I was very disappointed by that. Absolutely.
Very.
I was a huge Herschel Walker fan as an NFL athlete, but also then he went into mixed martial arts, which is my dad was a fighter for a while, had a relationship with Don King, won Golden Gloves years ago out in the southwestern part of the United States.
Talking about politics, though.
I know. So me liking Herschel Walker in different capacities for so long, I was heavily disappointed by the Herschel that showed up as a political candidate.
He was an unknown.
He was, but he was known to me somewhat, right? I think we all felt we knew Herschel a little bit.
He was unknown politically. He was known in sports. We get that. But that didn't transfer over.
No.
Especially
it made the act more hurtful, honestly.
Especially considering a Raphael Warnock, a Morehouse man. Now, I hear you saying you would take Kamala over Hogan. Now, I have to caution you on that, Richard, because her ascension, she ascended prosecuting Black people.
I agree. And that's why I open with, I have reservations, but we have Kamala Harris.
Ain't no buts, man. She locked up Black people, and that was her job. And I'm not saying she didn't do a good job, but let's just understand how she got there. People talk about the state's attorney, the district attorney. Well, you know, right now there's a lot of talk about Marilyn Mosby, not the most popular job. Ivan Bates locking up people. And in America, which has 25% of the world's incarcerated persons, 35% of whom look like those of us on the screen, we are 13% of the population, yet those of us on the screen make up 35% of the people in prison.
Right. Can I get
yes,
15 seconds to say bad things about Larry Hogan, and I'll stop saying them.
No, knock yourself out. But I just want you to put it in context.
Yeah,
because Rodney's right. He did speak up.
I said opening reservations. Under Hogan, Maryland became the worst state in the country, worse than Mississippi, worse than Alabama, worse than Georgia, worse than Louisiana on Black male incarceration.
And you said this was under Hogan?
This was under Hogan, yes.
Well, let me tell you what Baltimore City became under O'Malley.
Hey, we're not arguing about O'Malley.
Hold tight. The home of zero tolerance, where I watch Black people get arrested for sitting on their steps.
Yeah, and so, you know what's crazy?
As oppressive as you paint this picture of Hogan, and that's fine, let's not forget it was a Democrat in a 9-1 Democratic city who was incarcerating Black people like it was going out of style. I got pulled over for riding a bike without a headlight. That's repressive.
Wow.
Hey, if you ever hear me talking nice about Martin O'Malley, slap me in the mouth. But while we're talking about Larry Hogan, we're talking about the statewide statistics of Maryland being worse than Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida on young Black male incarceration as a state. So while problems have persisted in Baltimore, largely in part due to the failures of Martin O'Malley and Stephanie Rawlings Blake. Hogan made these problems a statewide issue.
It started before O'Malley, before Rawlings Blake. This is a 2-to-1 Democratic state. However, Maryland has never been all of that friendly to black people, Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
I'm not caught up in party. You seem to be more embracive of party. They're both criminal to black people.
Oh, hey, that's
As a matter of fact, when Marianne Lasante out of Harford County called Prince George's County, I think you live in Prince George's County, the nigger district, she was still allowed in the legislature.
When did that happen?
Democrat.
That was something like 5 years ago. I was one of the.
Are you serious?
Yeah, this is a person who was unseated in 2022.
She should have been locked up.
I don't think that she's living the nicest life. I don't think that she's a nice person. I organized against her. But going back to the Senate race that you asked me to come on here about,
neither one of them have shown us love. They both screwed black people, Democrats and Republicans.
Hey,
Baltimore is 9-1 Democrat. I'm looking at West Baltimore, and I can't point to one damn thing that's happened in the past 50 years in my lifetime.
All right, none of this is arguing that any other Maryland Democrat was better.
We're celebrating these Democrats, and I'm telling you, my neighborhood looks like it did when Freddie Gray went down 9 years ago. Still looks like that.
Hey, and when Hogan was governor, what did he personally do separate from the money that the General Assembly requires to go to certain, like? Everybody
What did Martin O'Malley do? Martin O'Malley sued not to be responsible for Baltimore City public schools.
If I talk nice about Martin O'Malley, slap me. If I talk nice about Martin O'Malley, please slap me.
I haven't heard you say one thing.
We're talking about Larry Hogan. And
okay, you're pushing also, Brooks. What is her record on black business?
I don't think it's particularly good. I'm not here to give super hosannas. I'm mostly complaining about Larry Hogan's record. But to go to Angela Alsobrooks's record so I can get equal criticism.
What has she done for black businesses? Because people who work in that realm in Prince George's County have nothing to say about her track record when it comes to black business, something near and dear to my heart.
I will allow the Angela Alsobrooks campaign to litigate that point. I'm not a paid supporter.
Okay.
What has been her record, Donnie?
Nothing. According to people in Prince George's County.
I'm just trying not to be negative about them before the Senate primary is over. After it is over, I would love to give kind of a recap that is better assessing of why whoever loses.
He has no reputation for black business in Prince George's County.
What is her reputation for? What has her reputation been? If it's not in business, where has she been strongest?
That's an actual question. From the campaign that has so far been conducted.
You live there. From you.
No, I'm asking him. I'm asking him for the purpose of understanding what the campaign has told you. What has that campaign told you as a non-Prince Georgian has been the record of accomplishment? That's the actual question for you as a Prince Georgian. What do you feel the campaign has said has been the record of achievement? If you even think that's been said so far.
Yeah. Outside of the I am here, I want to do good, vote for me, which is typical of all candidates, right? I was just in Planet Fitness the other day. There were back-to-back commercials across those 17 televisions. The rhetoric sounds very, very much the same. Safer cities, better neighborhoods, stronger schools. Those are such lofty ideals with especially given the fact that in the Maryland Charter, each of the elected positions have specific powers, right? Delegates can do certain things. City council persons can do certain things. U.S. Congress people can do certain things. And so kind of advocating the same rhetoric, it sounds great to the general public, right? But it doesn't actually effectuate what I can do from that seat, so to speak. So I don't know. I've seen her name. I think that she probably, I don't know. I don't even really particularly care for the visual of her signs. Signs are a big deal, I think, when it comes to political race.
Her sign game is magnificent.
There are a lot of places, right? but I don't know if the emphasis should have been.
I can't blame her. Her sign game is magnificent.
I disagree. I don't like her. I don't even like the design. I would overlook it had I not known the visual of the person behind it.
The placement of the sign. She has signs everywhere. Whether the sign is ugly or not, I hadn't really thought of that. But her sign game is immaculate.
Everything about signs is visual, right? So aesthetics count. Everything about
some people don't have any signs up. I look around the city of Baltimore, it would be hard pressed to know that there's a mayor's race going on.
Yeah.
Well, I do see Sheila Dixon's sign game is immaculate.
Let me say, in Brandon's first race, he didn't really have that much. Like in his mayor race in 2020, there weren't that many signs.
Sign game is weak.
Yeah,
Very weak.
I saw maybe a dozen Brandon signs.
His sign game is so weak, it makes me wonder, what does he know that we don't know?
But he won, right? So if the formula,
that's what they say.
That's what they say. Well, he's in position, right?
That's a good comeback. I like that.
He's in position, and so like if
maybe he still knows the same thing that he did 4 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. This mayor's race is really interesting to me. I saw there were two op-eds in the Baltimore Sun earlier in the week, and they were two opposing positions. One of them said Brandon should not get any credit for the decrease in the murder rate from last year. And the other one was comparing lauding his efforts and why we have a decreased murder rate, coming out of 2023. I like both of those. Go ahead.
I saw police in cars for 3.5 years, not getting out at all. They slinging over there, the police across the street. That's what I saw in broad daylight for 3.5 years. I'm glad things have gotten to some normalcy now. We've been begging for attention in West Baltimore, and it's finally here. Election time, and doesn't set well.
That's somebody else said that too, that there's been a whole lot recently, which is that
shouldn't we live like this normally every day anyway?
Yeah.
And to take credit for something you didn't do. I mean, now I will say, I don't know what Safe Streets is, but there is a program that is hiring Black men on the streets of Baltimore, and it's some type of cleanup effort, and I'm glad to see it. But again, it troubles me that this is happening at election time. Where was this 2.5 years ago?
You want to know something? This is exactly my.
I'm bothered by that.
I'm bothered for the exact same reason, just about as it relates to Sheila Dixon. I personally I never was, even back when she was in office. I think she was unceremoniously and unjustly ousted. I'm not talking about that right now, but the credit that she received in her banner that she has waved for running again these past couple of cycles has been, look at my record with the city's murder rate. And I don't, just like we can't really give Brandon credit for the reduced murder rate coming out of last year, I never, 10 years ago, 15 years, wasn't able to give that to Sheila because I don't know how her policies affected people on Greenmount not pulling a gun, not pulling a trigger. It doesn't.
I can tell you actually what she did. You keep talking. I'm gonna see if I can get you some assistance. I'm gonna tell you someone who was on the ground, and this is not a plug for her, but it is a fact that I happen to know, and I'd love to share it with you.
Rodney, I'd also like to cite one of my favorite links that I've clicked on relating to Baltimore city government ever. Okay. This was like a 2011 or 2012 document on like recreation and parks, and you know what it said was the city constituent satisfaction rate when Sheila Dixon was mayor.
What was that?
It was like in the 50. It was like above 60%. It was the highest I'd ever seen it. And from my honest opinion, I'm not even going to say this is the right opinion. When people know that the trash will get picked up, when people know that the very bare minimums can be handled, they expect more from city government. I'll lay out my criticism of Brandon, even though I think Brandon's about to be reelected, and I personally love Sheila Dixon. Okay. I think that Brandon's biggest issue has been kind of being directionless as a mayor. And his goal is simply getting to the next week or next month with as much of the city liking him without necessarily even having a goal of what percent of the city will like him, or who in the city will like him, or even why people in the city will like him. Brandon is about to win. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
What makes you think that? That's interesting. What feeds that?
Primarily that Brandon has had such churn among his office. He has had so many people come in and out, many of them incredibly talented people, very wise people, people that have great perspective and ability. But when people are leaving, every 6 months or every year, it becomes nearly impossible to have a true direction as an agency. Now, I do like the comments you're bringing up regarding who do we give the credit for lowered crime? Because we're facing a dichotomy here that doesn't really make sense. A lot of people are giving Brandon credit for lowered crime in Baltimore City. I'm not going to say that's wrong. A lot of people are not giving Alsa Brooks blame for increased crime in Prince George's County. I'm not going to say that's wrong. But both of those opinions at the same time does not really make that much sense.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
They're dichotomous, right? What the op-ed that I read, Richard, was very interesting. It connected the avocado. So something that I didn't know, I had to look it up after I read the opinion piece. Avocados can take anywhere between 5 to 13 years to produce a fruit. You plant an avocado seed and you're looking at minimum 5 years, 8 years, 13 years before the tree that eventually does come. It doesn't take 13 years to produce a tree, but perennially that tree does not produce fruit. But then when it does produce fruit, they have something, new term that I learned, Doni, a heavy fruit drop. I had to look the term up. It's basically how much fruit is on the branches, right? Avocados produce what's called heavy fruit drop, but it takes a long time of just policies tending to in order to create that. So the one that was for Brandon, and I guess this would also be for the Sheila camp, was that there was a lot of avocado-esque tending to that happened beneath the surface, behind the scenes for years and years, that in the Johnny-come-lately period that we're in produced lower rates. I thought that was interesting. And then the other column basically was like, when you're focused on these other things related to city government that really don't have much to do with directly addressing crime outside of being a voice that says we need to stop, we need to cut it out, that doesn't lower crime rates. I thought both of those were equally valid positions. Go ahead, Don.
Okay, I got former Commissioner Rick Height, Indianapolis Commissioner here in Baltimore. He was Lieutenant Colonel. The question, Commissioner, is did Sheila Dixon reduce violent crime in her tenure as mayor? And if so, how?
Well, I think there's, Donnie, thank you for asking the question this morning. I got to be brief. I got a meeting to go to. But bottom line is this. In 2008, we know the numbers were exceeding 300 every year prior to 2008. And I think it was a team effort based on the PD, the state's training office, of course, and other federal agencies that come on board to help us to reduce the crime rate. Now, the difference is now that we had a community-based process involving community organizations who also came along to assist us. So it was government and also community-based, looking at not only were we looking at crime, but we also tried to address the perception of crime, because that's something that's not often talked about, but the idea of being feel safe became a paramount importance as well. So yeah, we had crime reduction, record breaking, and broke records in 2008, but we also made sure we had ability to talk about the perception of crime, because that helps with prosecution, because that means that the citizens trust you and willing to come forth and testify in cases, but you have to have that carrot and the stick. The carrot was we're going to make sure we make the arrest. The stick was we had to have strong prosecution to make sure people were put away for a long period of time, particularly those violent offenders, if that makes sense.
Richard?
You there?
This is exactly what Derek Leon Davis, former councilman from Prince George's, had as his criticism of Alsa Brooks. He said when she was the state's attorney, there was wonderful partnership between all elements necessary, and that did reduce crime at that time. Now we have a situation where the county executive actually blamed the judges and the state's attorney for the crime and implemented a curfew without fully having the input of those agencies. So I'm not even going to say not even partnership, but a situation where there is reason for people to use blame rather than partnership as their solution. So thank you, Mr. Height. I think that's exactly what I've heard from other elected officials, and that's the best answer I think you can give. People who are willing to work together to solve the issue rather than anybody pointing fingers or trying to seek outside solutions that don't necessarily bring solutions.
Commissioner Height,
may I add one other thing? I just want to make sure we understood that we have to be clear on what the expectations are of our community. It's changed over the years, and where are the priorities? Because we can make arrests, but if it's not a priority among the community to see this fully through and bringing evidence to bring prosecution for it, then they're telling us something about their view of that particular crime. Marijuana is a good example. People have changed their views on marijuana. So the question becomes, what is the expectation of public safety, and particularly the police department, in each of our communities going forward? That's something we need to really solidify.
Commissioner, didn't you also tell me that under the Dixon administration, you set people down who were known for violence, and you gave them an ultimatum that if they're going to stay here, they're going to clean up. Otherwise, we know who you are and we're going to lock you up.
Well, there was some criminal tracking done of those individuals who had propensity for violence and also one step away from federal prison. So there were quite a few call-ins we had to remind people, if you caught with one round of ammunition, you can end up doing 30 years in prison. So it was a reality check of honing in on those persons who we knew for a fact were trigger pullers or aiders and abetter of the trigger pullers, identify those in those cohort groups who they associated themselves with. So it was more of a comprehensive plan that dealt with the entire group, not just one individual. Have we seen Mayor Brandon Scott implement a similar strategy? I'm going to say this to you. I don't believe in talking strategy when it comes down to this kind. All I'm going to say is this. What we did worked at that time, and I think it'll work again. Good deal. Thank you, Commissioner Height. All right, thank you.
Gentlemen, I need to say this quickly. I just got a message from my teenage son that he has a driver's appointment with the MVA Motor Vehicles coming up here shortly. So I need to say this, and then I need to bow my head and tip my hat. Crime is an expression of lack.
Oh, you're leaving us? You can't leave.
I'm on daddy duty.
Hold up, you're scheduled for till 10 o'clock, Mr.
Hey, Rodney, I say handle the duties.
I'm on daddy duty.
That's okay.
But so crime is an expression of lack, right? As long as there is extreme poverty, as long as there is degradation in the neighborhoods, in those communities, in those zip codes, as long as there are food deserts, as long as I have more access to liquor and weed and tobacco than I do to healthy outlets, gyms, and etc., like you name it, a crime is an expression of that, right? And so I don't have any problem with the stick. I appreciate that Commissioner Height said carrot and a stick. What I am not seeing so much in any of these strategies is so much of the carrot, of the incentive, right? Policing is reactionary. Policing happens after something takes place. It also, when we show big, strong police force and it shoes the dirt, the unsightliness around the corner, it doesn't go away. It sweeps it under the bed, behind the rug, right? And so what I really would like to do is see a lot more strategy as a concerted effort from our leadership across the different levels of leadership. I would love to see a lot more carroting, if I may, than just the sticking of it, the policing, the locking up. But when I have no other options, what else am I going to do?
Get a job.
I struggle with that.
Get a job.
Rodney, I'm gonna be real quick with one person who actually cited what has been one of the major decreasers in crime, and it's something that almost nobody would expect or guess unless you're a statistics analyst, I suppose. U.S. Attorney Eric Barron, who was appointed like last year or 2 years ago.
That's the guy who's on Marilyn Mosby like white on rice.
No comment. But what he said about fact, what he said is
trying to put a
the crime.
woman in prison for tapping into her own money, and she's been accused of fraud. So you're going to put her in prison.
I think that Joe would be nice to give her a pardon. I'm not going to necessarily say he should, but he'd be a very nice person to do. What Barron said is lowered the murder rate.
Donald Trump is going to pardon himself.
That's true too. What Eric Barron said is going to lower the murder rate.
Donald Trump has done more egregious things than Marilyn Mosby, yet this white male is running for president. Explain that.
Racism.
I don't think it's an explanation for it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's an explanation for it.
It's called white privilege.
I mean, outside of that,
yeah,
right?
racism
there's no
and power.
justifiable. There's no justifiable.
All right, Donnie, let me finish the point so we can go. What Eric Barron said is lowered the murder rate was that a lot of people who took the CARES Act money and PPL or not PPL, the Paycheck Protection PPP money, a lot of those people basically were unaware that money was all being tracked by the feds. A lot of that money moved around in circles that it probably should not have moved in. Many of those individuals have gotten in trouble rapidly because the feds can get you very quickly. That is what I believe has actually lowered the murder rate most specifically. People who were using that Fed money to purchase things, not knowing it was being tracked, were very easily caught. Very easily caught, mainly by Eric Barron.
And you think that contributed to a lower murder rate?
Absolutely, yes. Yes. Yes.
That's a lot of connection there, bud.
Yes, people who thought that the federal government giving them free money for fake businesses who used that money illegally got caught and are no longer killing people or giving money to people to kill people. That's the sentence I'm sticking with.
I want to swap us back to Marilyn Mosby real quick. Baltimore Sun front page today. Talked about the possibility of her receiving probation. All right, just a year of supervised probation, no jail time at all. I absolutely believe that Marilyn is being, just like Sheila, is being unfairly, unjustly targeted for her efforts. I do think that. I absolutely, go ahead.
Both of them had strong personalities.
Yeah.
Strong personalities are accepted when it's a white male.
Absolutely.
When it's black
and
female, it's not accepted in the same way. It's a double standard.
And female, black and female, right? And Marilyn did something that,
and she prosecuted cops.
And that at the time, this is the era of Hands Up, Don't Shoot, Mike Brown, I Can't Breathe, Trayvon Martin,
Gun Trace Task Force.
Yeah, all of that. But I'm talking about nationally, right? That was an era where this was in the headlines, and she did something. This is back when cops weren't even being brought to trial, not even being indicted. She brought charges.
Yes, she did.
Right, and so I commend her because some of the other officers that we have seen, for example, a couple of years ago when the gentleman couldn't breathe, I forgot the officer's name.
Eric Garner.
Yeah, but what was the officer's name that ended up going to federal prison?
Some Italian dude
for the murder. That is, they say the saying is we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? She was a giant during this era, in my opinion. I've consistently told her that individually. I've consistently said that openly. I don't know all the specifics about her case. I am not a professional in legalese. What I do know is that she stirred up people.
Daniel Pantaleo.
No, not that guy. Not that guy. Not the Eric Gardner guy. The recently, the I Can't Breathe, the knee on the neck. I think his last name is
George Floyd.
George Floyd and the cop, I forgot. I think his name is
Derek something.
Yeah. Anyway, gentlemen, my kid has an appointment. I need to go be on daddy duty. I'm going to gracefully buy out. Richard, it's a pleasure. I feel like we've run across each other.
Okay. Come on. Man. You got to go. Go get you.
I gotta go. Richard, I would love to
Shanghai the show. You were supposed to be here the whole hour, man.
My child has an appointment, Donald Glover.
All right. So, Richard, who do you like for president?
Well, I voted uncommitted in the Maryland primary. I do want to show that for Democrats and people across the nation that what Joe Biden is doing with Israel, this is the equivalent of Lyndon Johnson's Vietnam. I do not support. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden in the general because we live in Maryland and it's going to go blue anyway.
This thing is really heating up on the Gaza Strip.
Absolutely. I think that
protests all around the country on college campuses. Last week was just, it was ubiquitous that, that the people in America have a problem with the killing of innocents.
Yes. And a small percentage of Americans who have a large concentration of power, many of whom admittedly are Democrats, like you said, have been striking down on these protests, have been calling police in. Even worse, I think this is a horrific example that goes in the kind of almost definition of a lynch mob, with me, in my opinion, of the people in Los Angeles or in California who were launching fireworks and assaulting people. And when people called the police to get assistance, they said, stop giving fake reports. These stories are disturbing. It shows that now, on one hand, the hand has been tilted by the American government so far towards supporting Israeli interests that many Americans can no longer stand it. And at the same time, for the Americans who do want that to be represented, many of them can see that this is the end. This is probably the last time that America is just utterly beholden to Israeli interests to the way it has over the past, you could say, over the past two presidential terms, between Biden and Trump's two terms. Yes.
There's another incident that has people looking at Trump. That's one incident.
Mm-hmm.
The second, well, where's Trump on this whole Gaza Strip?
Oh, his positions are horrific. He has outright called for he said things that are essentially, we need to end this. We need to wrap it up. Let's let him get it over with. If Trump is president again, not only will there be increased horrors in the Gaza Strip until there is no more horror possible in the Gaza Strip, but there will also be increased horror regarding the climate, regarding the environment, etc.
Well, so there's Trump there. So he would only add to the killing of innocents in the Gaza Strip.
Absolutely, without question.
Versus
there is Biden, who has sat by quietly and allowed horrors to happen.
And then there's the border.
There's also the border. I personally don't think that immigration has quite the appeal to many American voters as it did years ago. That is my opinion.
I don't know. I do not agree. I do not agree.
I don't think that it has anywhere close to the saliency it did when Trump was nominated. Trump was nominated off of that as its sole issue.
Well, his supporters, that is a key issue in their universe. The sanctuary cities, New York, for instance. Mayor Eric Adams wants to be he wants to be contacted when buses are coming there with people from the border.
Well, no, that wasn't people from the border. They were sending people from Florida and Texas there. It goes beyond sanctuary cities and to red state governors violating federal law.
These were not illegal immigrants.
A lot of the people who were put on buses and sent to New York were people from Florida and Texas who red state governors illegally shipped there, the same way that Ronald Reagan gave a whole bunch of mental patients bus passes before he shuttered the American mental institutions.
It's not my understanding, Richard.
The federal government has every ability to send them back. DeSantis and Abbott have been relocating people, again, against federal law, to these states. But regardless, I don't think that immigration has anywhere close to the relevance that it did in 2016 or even in 2020. I think that if you were to Google right now for polls, what is immigration your biggest thing? It would be the lowest it has been since 2015 right now. I would bet you money on that right now, Donnie. I would bet you $1 on that right now.
I have to take that dollar bet because what I'm looking at, immigration is a key issue among a lot of voters. People are concerned that thousands of illegals are coming across the border daily, re-trumpeting Trump's wall, re-trumpeting a call for Trump's wall. So let's move along. We've talked about the local, any local races in Prince George's County that we haven't touched.
I'm going to prove my stats because I'm an asshole. Immigration in April 2024, it's at 27%. March 2024, it's at 28%. February 2024, 28%. But in January 2024, it was at 20. December was at 16. November 15. October 13. That's way lower than.
I'm looking at a Gallup poll from February. That's 3 months ago, end of February. Immigration surges to top of most important problem list. First time immigration has been the single most important problem since 2019.
I'm impressed that it had been since 2019 that had been the number one issue, but that's interesting.
In the latest poll, 20% of Americans named the government as the most important problem, followed by the economy and inflation. Let's talk about the economy. Yep. How are people, because again, small businesses, the backbone of America, how are businesses in Prince George's County? More specifically, how are Black businesses? I know here in Baltimore, we had a loss. We lost Hoodfellas. They are going to regroup and go back to the drawing board and come back in a different manifestation. But how are our businesses doing?
So for state support, for governmental or county support for Black businesses, I have heard many complaints. To go into just businesses, generally speaking, admittedly trying to be kind of fair, because this has been during the pandemic, Prince George's has lost some businesses. For example, in our shopping centers, we've lost a Best Buy. All of the Bojangles in the counties have closed. It's hard to give any blame or criticism or even credit to the county executive because it's been the COVID era. But the main thing that the county executive and even the county council has tried to do, in my opinion, has been townhouse development. We have developed quite a few townhouses in the county over the past several years. I think that is among the bigger. The developers have been Michaels, the same traditional. There are no small developers in Prince George's. There are no small developers.
Who put the Michaels group on?
Actually, Michaels was Wayne Curry. Wayne Curry was the one who made them like superstars. Yeah.
And now they are bullies.
I'm not going to even say they're bullies. We have a development structure in this county where there's no way for small developers to operate.
Do they dominate? Does the Michaels group dominate?
Yeah, absolutely. They dominate because there's no.
So they determine the next county executive.
I'm not going to say they determine the next county executive.
They put a hell of a lot of money in the campaigns.
They put a lot of money in the campaigns. There's going to be public financing of the elections. There's going to be a couple of other little factors that are going to make
public financing can't touch big money.
It's going to help, and there's going to be a lot.
Who wins on public financing? Who has won?
Actually, one of your boys, Larry Hogan, he won on public financing.
Well, he had money anyway.
But he had public financing.
Must have done it pretty smart.
His opponent ran a horrible race. Let's move into the politics rather than the policy of the race. And that's that many people have criticized or had confusion regarding basically what was the Alsobrooks campaign doing maybe for the past 9 months. But on the same token, I think that many people would say that right now, when it is the most important to be locked in, the Alsobrooks campaign is running at its best right now, whereas Trone right now is coming off of a series of gaffes and missteps that very well may end up costing him.
What was that word he used?
Gaffes and missteps.
Now, what was the word he used?
Oh, so he used the word jigaboo during a hearing when he meant to say bugaboo. For all Americans, remove
I
the
don't
word
know what
bugaboo.
how do you know what he was attempting to say? He is a
That's what
very
he
intelligent
said. I'm
man.
just
He
saying.
is the wealthiest liquor and wine distributor in the United States. He doesn't know the difference between jigaboo and bugaboo.
Neither did Robert Griffin III. But bugaboo
We're
is a
talking
stupid word.
about a person that wants to represent us, and you're telling me that he's not. Are you okay?
Yeah, somebody knocked on the door. I'm checking the ring. I'm listening though.
Well, there's a picture being painted of Larry Hogan, and I'm just saying, is there any difference between Larry Hogan and David Trone?
Considerably, yes. I think that David Trone would be an ally for raising wages for workers. Larry Hogan has never at any point done that or done anything to further that. At any point, he has always vetoed bills. Without question, I would
So
trust
you
David.
think changing the restaurant structure, that's one of David Trone's goals. I saw him here in Baltimore, and he was at a restaurant where they want to pay waiters $15 an hour. Interestingly, some waiters want their cash tips still.
Yeah, I am in full support of getting rid of tips because tips are stupid and they only exist in America because of racism, and they're not a good thing for me as a consumer, nor are they a good thing for you as an employee.
Have you ever
Not
been a
even
waiter?
Huh?
Have you ever been a waiter?
Nope. And every waiter I've ever known said they wish they could make more money. And how would you make more money guaranteed? With a guarantee.
I can't agree to that. I was a pretty damn good waiter, and I was never wanting for anything. But hey, that's just my experience.
Doni, I bet you were a waiter before inflation was a concept.
Oh, okay.
I love you too. That's me thanking you for being around for a while. What I'm getting towards is I think that David Trone is significantly better on economic issues, not about we don't need small taxes on Marylanders, which Hogan would have no impact on, but on actually increasing wages nationally. Without question, David Trone.
You have a lot of criticism. This man was a more popular governor than previous.
Hey, Drake sold more records than Kendrick. It doesn't mean he's better. Popularity doesn't mean anything, especially in politics.
So you want Trone or Alsobrooks?
100%. If either of them is the nominee, I'm gung-ho.
Who do you prefer?
I'm not going into that because I don't need to be biased. I will talk that I think that Trone has a better policy record. I think that Alsobrooks now has a much stronger coalition for trying to reunite the party, not necessarily getting the voters, but trying to reunite the elements of the state party. David Trone's, one of his gaffes, he said that a lot of Alsobrooks backers in Prince George's were low level. I don't really even know what that's supposed to mean. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
This came out within the past week.
This is in the past week. Now, I don't even know what that is supposed to mean, but saying that when Congressman Hoyer, Congressman Ivey, Council Chair Jolene Ivey, former Council Chair Calvin
I'm a little troubled when you start mentioning these Democrats because when you mention Steny Hoyer, for example, has he not been, like Mike Miller, oppressive to black people?
I think you can absolutely argue that in some ways. I think that on certain other respects, hold on. I also have much more respect for if we did not have a Steny
bully
Hoyer,
is a bully. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. When they bring that white male privilege to my community, we see it. And we don't see a letter. We don't see a party. We just see an oppressive individual. Mike Miller was a bully to black politicians in Prince George's County, and a lot of people are glad he's gone.
Let me give you something that's a criticism of myself.
Let me give you this bit of history since I am the old guy. When Kweisi Mfume ran for U.S. Senate in 2006,
Miller sank him.
Where were you in 2006? Were you in high school?
I was 11 years old.
You were 11 years old. Well, let me tell you, bud, Martin O'Malley and Mike Miller disrespected Kweisi Mfume in Annapolis. I am so glad to see the state Democrats rallying around Angela Also Brooks.
Mhm.
Just in my mind, they're 18 years late. And
Yes.
18 years of trauma that we as a Black community endured because of racism. So I'm really not impressed. They're late as hell.
Okay, all I was saying is that calling Hoyer low level it doesn't make any sense. Hoyer's among the most powerful politicians in the country. Calling the backers low level was an unnecessary gaffe. That's all I meant. It was an unnecessary gaffe.
He meant to cause harm. He meant to cause pain. So is it safe to say that Trone is showing his white privilege?
I think that Trone is showing his emotional responses to things. I'm not going to say logical. I'm going to say emotional. Calling endorsers against you low level is an emotional.
Well, my understanding from people in Prince George's is that there have been threats made that if you don't support Trone, there will be a price to pay. I've heard that. You've heard it. It's been on the news.
Wait, hold on. Did I don't know if that was a Freudian slip or what you meant. That if you don't support Trone, or that if you don't support Also Brooks.
Trone. But also, I guess you're right. Also Brooks as well.
I think
have there been threats made? Let's get to that. Have there been threats made?
Not any that I could verify or independently talk about. I think that for many people, there is the notion. Yeah, actually, let me do it better. There are so many people supporting both of the candidates that no candidate could theoretically satisfy every supporter in their camp. Would you agree with me? Nobody could support their entire camp because of how many people are supporting them for both of the two candidates. Is that fact?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get left behind. And for both candidates, there are certainly elected officials, community people, whoever, donors who feel I need to get on board or I won't even have the opportunity to talk. That is not an explicit threat. It is just the nature of the game when there's only two candidates who both have wide appeal and many backers.
Who do you think will win between Trone and Also Brooks?
I think now it's going to be Also Brooks. I think Also Brooks is going to win by about 2.5%.
Who has the best chance of beating Hogan if Hogan should win the primary?
I think that Trone has a better shot of winning against Hogan in the general election. I think that Also Brooks would still win in the general. My only hesitation with Also Brooks is that there might be money that could be spent in Pennsylvania or North Carolina or Florida or wherever that might need to come to Maryland to guarantee the Also Brooks victory, whereas it could be spent in any of those other states to help stop Trump.
So are you saying that Hogan would be a pro-Trump, would be a Trump supporter?
Without question.
You're saying Hogan would be a Trump supporter?
Well, I mean, when Hogan was
Trump trounced Hogan's candidate for governor.
Sure, and they agree on most things. Well, I can call you an asshole.
I may have to bring you to interview Larry Hogan.
He won't show up if you do that.
Huh?
He won't show up if you do that, but I would be honored beyond measure, and I would give the most fair but honest interview that Hogan has probably ever given.
So you're a proud Democrat. You're proud of the Democrats in Maryland?
I'm a proud Democrat in Maryland. I didn't say I'm proud of them. But that said, much of the complaints and acrimony between Hogan and Trump are character complaints and issues of language use rather than questioning why Trump hates races of people, questioning why Trump has among the worst policies regarding immigration, economics, education.
Do you see Hogan as a racist? Do you see Hogan as a racist?
I see Hogan as a racist, as in not liking black folks in policy, even if we'll shake our hands. I think that I would see Hogan as a racist much in the same ways that I would see Martin O'Malley as a racist. That said,
you know Hogan is married to a Korean woman.
Hey, Strom Thurmond got a black girl pregnant. Does not mean that you love somebody. It does not mean that you love an entire grouping of people. I don't think that Hogan has particular.
He has a black in-law.
I got white in-laws, Donnie. Does that mean I love all white people equally? I don't actually have white in-laws, but you get the metaphor. I do not believe that Hogan is cut from the same evil cloth as Trump.
So you're saying that Boyd Rutherford supported a racist?
Yeah, but I think you can also say that Sheila Dixon supported a racist, and neither of those statements is incorrect. I don't think that those are testaments on the character.
Who's the racist Sheila Dixon supported?
Martin O'Malley. We can call both of them those individuals.
But did she support him, or was she in a position where she had no choice?
It's the same for Boyd. I'm not going to criticize Boyd.
No. Boyd chose to run with Larry Hogan. Sheila Dixon did not choose to run.
Fair enough. Sheila Dixon.
Martin O'Malley. That's what the people of Baltimore voted for. They thought more of Martin O'Malley than Lawrence Bell or Carl Stokes in 1999.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we could talk about the positioning, but for Hogan's attitudes on immigration, on the environment, on the education, particularly the education of black youth, the only issue where I think that Hogan has a grand leg to stand on, and even I can applaud, is possibly on certain elements of government transparency. When Hogan was governor, Maryland Democrats had to act a different way because they were not trying to give the governor the best bills. They were trying to get the best bills through, regardless of the governor. Hogan made Maryland Democrats shape up. If you think Maryland Democrats are in the best place they've ever been, which I would say they are, you can in many ways credit Hogan for that.
So can we get reparations now that we have a black governor, treasurer, state's attorney general? Can we finally get to some issues that matter to black people, like reparations, like ending mass incarceration, or reversing? I should say reversing mass incarceration.
I would love to see
Can we
that.
reverse Baltimore City and Prince George's County, the two majority black school jurisdictions, being 23 and 24 in terms of the worst school jurisdictions in the state of Maryland? Can a Democratic Party with such prominence, can they address those issues disaffect the black community?
Can they? Yes. Is the coalition there for them to do it right now? I honestly don't know.
I mean, the same way I'm seeing people rally around Angela Alsobrooks, the way they did not rally around Kwesi Mfume 18 years ago. Can we now put that same momentous attention on reparations, reversing mass incarceration, and reversing Baltimore City and Prince George's County from being the two worst school jurisdictions in the state of Maryland?
Was it a question, can we or will we? Sorry, was it can we or will we?
Can we apply? Can we?
Can we? Yes, clearly. Will we? No. Among the many...
what the hell is the point of being a Democrat?
Among the many...
We stop. They get us to support everybody else's efforts, including the Maryland State Lottery, which brought in at least $15 billion, such that we have a new football stadium, a new baseball stadium. Yet we have classrooms. The promise was money for education. We have classrooms in Baltimore City. Y'all watching when black people start clapping their hands. No heat in the winter, no air in the summer. What in the hell? Help me out. Did I miss something? I mean, we're over here stroking these people's ego. Where in the hell is the benefit? Except saying I'm a Democrat.
Well, Donnie, you made the issue clear from the forefront. Are as many people supporting the issues we're talking about as support a black woman for the Senate race? No! The answer is fuck no. No. Brooke Lierman supports Alsobrooks. Does Brooke Lierman support reparations? Fuck no. Does Bill Ferguson support reparations? No. Is he supporting Alsobrooks? Yes. There are many, many, many people who are supporting...
window dressing. This is mere window dressing.
There are many people who are more than happy, ecstatic, in fact, to support a black candidate for Senate, even if that black candidate does not believe in those issues. I have never heard either candidate talk about reparations. Also, Brooks, in her record, does not have a particularly good.
It's time we start talking about reparations. Everybody else has gotten reparations except black people. It is time for the discussion. It is time for movement on that issue, especially if you want to move forward or go to a higher office. It's time to have that discussion. We are tired of being put on the back burner by anybody and everybody.
All right, Donnie, then I'll raise you this. I think that this general election is as good of a race to try and have reparations as a point of contention between the candidates. Is Larry Hogan going to support
talk about reparations if they come on this show?
If Larry Hogan is going to
hey, across the board.
If we can ask both Larry Hogan and also Brooks / Trone, what is your black agenda? How are we going to put power in the hands of the black individual to achieve wealth, to achieve insurance, to achieve home ownership, to achieve the makings for wealth? I will be happy to do it. But as I can see it right now, if you were to ask that question, also Brooks and Trone would both not answer. And Hogan, being a shrewd politician, would say no, because in Maryland, reparations is not a majoritarian issue. It is not.
We have to make it a majority issue. We have to make it so that Fox, NBC, CBS, and ABC talk about reparations every single show. You know how we do it? By taking our votes somewhere else.
Issue. If you say I support reparations, you are not getting 50% of the vote. If you say I support reparations,
then maybe, Richard, all of this political activity is a farce.
I won't disagree with you.
Maybe it means absolutely nothing, but whether we further the white agenda, actually how far we further a white agenda, since we're not at the table, since we're only on the menu.
I don't disagree with that.
So maybe the real discussion is, should we abandon politics altogether?
Absolutely not. That makes no sense. If you don't vote,
we're not gaining. Our schools are at the bottom. Our prison rate is through the roof.
And it could be worse.
The business, the whole. I mean, you see how they come down on minority business. The Croson case out of Richmond, Virginia. Nobody thinks black people. I mean, white males are crying reverse racism after getting all of the business. They want even more. Like black people don't exist. We fight in this country. We fought in every war, every skirmish from the Revolutionary War to today. Yet we still have to prove that we're better than second-class citizens.
And it could be worse, Donnie. I don't mean to.
It could be better too.
Hell yeah, it could be better. I try and make it better, Donnie.
It needs to be better, and now.
And I think people abandoning politics, if you don't vote, you get $0. If you vote, you get $1 and an opportunity to fix things. If you vote in a primary, you get 2 chances to do things. If you don't vote, you are wasting one of the few things that has been given to you to help correct your wrongs.
It wasn't given to us. It wasn't given to us. It was hard-earned, hard-fought with blood, sweat, and tears. But I am suggesting that we grow our business class, that we grow the consciousness of our black, successful black business owners, male and female, to pour back into the community, because clearly waiting on the government is not going to save us.
I agree with you on that, and I think we have a lot to do on that front.
Up to day, down tomorrow. Thank you, Richard. Do your day and everything will follow. Very heated discussion. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it.
I'll be back next Friday. 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 Bye, Donnie.
Good morning, world.